All right, guys. Thanks for joining. As always, this segment I have Mike Shroades on. And Mike, the cool thing is recently, we were talking about a few things, and you talked to a few other people about, what things you could do to really help with profitability and scalability for your business. And I think the hard part is sometimes when people have had some success early on in insurance, the market changes and the way that we sell changes and the type of leads that we call changes, and a lot of people don't want to make any changes, right? They're like, well, dude, I had this thing that worked, I made money doing this, like I don't want to lose that, right? And I think recently your business has started to grow a ton because you've been like, well, heck, I'm ready to make all these changes. I'm ready to do virtual sales. I'm ready to lean in and learn IULs and annuities. I'm ready to learn all these things that are going to help my agents be more profitable. So what I would love for you to talk about, the next, 10 minutes, and I'll be here to bounce stuff back and forth with you, but, kind of the reason that you started, making some of the changes from the groups that you saw that were working really well as far as doing telesales. And then like a couple weeks ago, we were like, hey, let's start selling them some annuities. Like we should do that, so how you've mixed that in as well, wherever you want to start with that. And I'll be here to bounce off you, but I just love you to go, changes you've made that are leading to you being more profitable as an agent and your agents being more profitable because you guys are growing like crazy now.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Zach, and thank you for having me on. I don't take these calls lightly, mainly because as a new agent, Zach, it was really important for me to get on these calls, and they're what inspired me, encouraged me, through the dark times of beginning this business. So, thank you for having me on. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was a little bit of a challenge because let me start with going from in home because up until June of this year, I was in the home 100%. So the middle of June, I had started think, or beginning of June, I started thinking, I need to transition, and here's why. Everywhere I was going, I found myself constant, like I was driving all over the place, and my mind was also in 1,000 different places while I was driving.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking, we're over $1 million a month business. And yes, I still need to go out and sell insurance, but I also needed more efficiency. If anything, I needed to be more efficient. And what I did was I started thinking about it. And but I was so comfortable in the home. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty good in the home. If
Yeah.
I get in front of someone, I'm going to sell them some insurance on most situations. Um, but what was happening, I felt like my business was suffering, and I felt like even my business acumen was starting to suffer. And I mean, I was just all over the place because I don't know if you get like this, Zach, when you're doing something because you have to do it, but then you're thinking of all the other stuff that you could be doing and working on and trying to get accomplished. Having an agency over $1 million isn't just like you can sit down and you have the luxury of not doing anything. Um,
Right.
so, so what I did, I started thinking about it, Zach, and then my granddaughter in the middle of June got sick, and I'm sure you probably remember this.
Mm-hmm.
They had to rush her to UAB, and I was like, I'm a family man. When the crap hits the fan, I'm there, man. I'm not going anywhere, and I was like, I'm not leaving in case they need me for my granddaughter because I would travel 2-3 hours away to go sell insurance in homes. And one day when she got sick, I just said, you know what, this is it. I got to do it right here, right now. So it wasn't like I went through this giant transition of going from in-home hybrid and then on the phone. I just said, okay, the crap's hit the fan, man. I gotta start selling some insurance over the phone so I can be here because my family needs me, and that's more important. That's my priority right now. And Zach, I came in and I sold 3 or 4 policies my first day because I just said, okay, I'm going to do this. Now,
Yeah.
Zach, here's the thing. I in my head, I was thinking, oh my gosh, I have to be as good as Josh is. Everyone listens to Josh Williams, and I'm like, oh, I got to be as good as him before I'm going to succeed at the. And you know what I did, Zach? I just did what I do in the home, and I realized it worked. There was
Yeah.
no real change. The only change became because I'm on final expense, you're dealing with older clients. I just had to be a little more patient. Like when I'm in the
Yeah.
home, I can tell within 3 seconds if they're going to buy insurance, right? On the phone, I had to go through the motions long enough to find out, is this something that they're really going to do? And I realized I didn't change my phone script. I didn't change my in-home presentation. I didn't hardly change a thing, Zach. And the only thing I said was, "Hey, you got 10 minutes so we can knock this out." That's the only difference I made. And yeah, it worked. And it's allowing me to be more efficient so that I
Mm-hmm.
can be there for my new agents. Because as you know, I've kind of gone through a rebuilding structure, and I've
Yeah.
been working with a lot of brand new agents that, Zach, they need me because they're brand new. They don't have a clue what they're doing. And I just want to be there for them. So I just find it more efficient. And the great thing is they can't all be in a home with me, Zach.
Right.
Um, but the great thing is they can all get on one call closes with me and listen to me, and I can listen to them. So it's really nice. I might have, 10 or 11 brand new agents at any given moment on here every day dialing with me. So the efficiency of it, and obviously I'm becoming more profitable if I'm helping these agents begin to sell insurance. It helps them, and it's helping my business as well. So that was really June is when I really started to feel the transition. And to be honest, I've pecked away at $30,000 a month with ease, sitting right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. And I think, I think it's important to, kind of note, like you kind of didn't want to at first because it worked before, but, and this is not really to do with insurance, but it's weird how things like that work out. Like something bad happens and then it sometimes, like a lot of times bad things that happen lead to something that you needed to change, like bad thing happened. Your granddaughter was sick and then you changed something in business that actually helped you in business. And I
Right.
think I know you're a man of faith, but you're always looking for the silver lining in bad things that happen too, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
man, maybe I need to be home with my family more. Like, what could I do here? And I remember
Right.
we talked about it. You're like, you think I'll be able to sell virtually? I'm like, I'm sure you will. If everyone else who's doing it can do it, you can certainly do it too.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're exactly right. I think adversity can and this was adverse. I mean, it wasn't life changing. Thank God she was okay.
Yeah.
Just having mild seizures. So, I could have gone right back on the road. But what I realized in that week of being home, Zach, is I was onto something.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you what even made it more profitable. And I don't know how many of people listening are working their book of business. This allowed me to sit down and work my book of business. Man, my profitability June and July skyrocketed because these people that I'd already sold insurance to, well, I'm obviously, because I think when you're dialing virtually and you're doing this over the phone, you have to have more of a lead flow. It's not like you're going to go run 10 appointments and be done. Whatever
Yeah.
happens, happens. Yeah, I mean, gosh, there's days I dial 3, 4, 500 times in a day, every day now. But what I noticed in working this book of business, and I was talking to Garfield about this earlier today, man, those premiums that were $60, $70 a year 2 years ago, because I built a relationship, not even build it, they just trust me now because I did what I said I would do. Man, Zach, those policies that I'm redoing and reviewing, I'm getting 150, 170, $200 a month premiums. And of course, that's obviously you're making more money and you have no money in lead cost. It's just, hey,
Yeah.
you want me to do a review on what we did last year, make sure everything's up to date and good. And it's just really worked out. And and that has led me back because I used to write annuities, Zach.
Yeah, that's what I
Um,
was gonna ask you next. Because dude, we
yeah,
before you go on this part, we talked about this is why I love working with you and why it's an honor for me to work with you is because we're like, hey, we should do this, and you're like, okay, I'll do it. Like I don't have to ask twice ever. I'm like, hey, let's introduce this initiative, and Mike's like, cool, I already started doing it. And
yeah,
we talked about that a couple weeks ago on a call with just a few managers, and then you're later that day, you're like, I already got 3 statements, I already closed one. I'm like, that was fast. Like you must have already been working on this. But if you
yeah.
could talk about like, kind of the mindset behind how much you just asking the golden question, how simple that is, and kind of what your experience has been since you just started. It's weird when you talk about stuff like this, all of a sudden the opportunities present themselves, right? And I remember that when I was a new agent and when I started feeling comfortable, one day I just started asking about it and it seemed like every person had money magically. So
Yeah.
kind of go through what it's been like now that you've been focusing on annuities again. And I think you just got paid on one that you wrote like a week
I
ago
wrote,
already. So kind of
yeah.
go through that process and what it's looked like.
Right. I wrote one Wednesday, Zach. Wednesday
Mm-hmm.
afternoon, I wrote it, and I got paid yesterday morning or Tuesday morning.
Wow.
What it wasn't 4 full business days, and I had my commission paid to me by Athene. Yeah, so let me kind of go back, Zach, because when I first come
Mm-hmm.
into this business, I had no retirement set aside. You know, I'd come from working in mostly in small churches, did a gig with Department of Commerce, helped them for a little while, but there was no real retirement that had been set aside. So my first problem was I had to get over number one, my insecurity because I had no money and asking people about theirs because I didn't feel qualified. And then I was like, oh my gosh. And then there was fear. It wasn't just insecurity, it was fear. I don't want to screw these people up. You know, they worked their whole life to be more disciplined to save this $250,000. I didn't want to screw that up. So there was an insecurity because I didn't have a lot of money. And there was also a fear because I really didn't want to hurt anybody. And I didn't understand annuities all that well. Well, now, man, you about couldn't get me to sell anybody else another investment product, even if I had the ability to go outside and because the illustrations speak for themselves. There's no risk of loss. There's a bonus if you write a theme. They're giving you our clients a bonus just to move the money. So even if they've lost a little bit in the market, they can recuperate that with the bonus. Um, but yeah, and back to willing to make the change. We have to get over our insecurities. We have to get over our
Yeah.
fears, and sometimes just go for it, man. Am I the best at annuities? No. 2 of the 3 I wrote this week, I messed them up. So I'm redoing them. Okay. So there it is. But the thing is, I still got them. The clients trust me. Here's the other thing. Those annuities, Zach, the truth is they all fell together right when you begin to promote this initiative. I've been working with these people to try to get annuities for over 6 months with both of them. One
Yeah.
of them was a year. So I've been going back and forth. But the book of business, when I put some texts and some emails out to my book of business, they're like, "Hey, I remember when you was here and you mentioned somewhere making some investments or annuity or something." And they're coming back to me with questions that they now have because they're seeing their portfolio kind of begin to wear down, diminish. Like I met with a guy the other day, $100,000. He over the summer he lost 6,000 to that, Zach.
Wow.
So that's a 6% loss over the summer. So he and I are talking, but yeah, and the other thing, Zach, being in leadership for so long, there's been a lot of times I've asked people to make a change, and they went begrudgingly. And I feel like just being a good follower, because I do follow your leadership and Sean's, being a good follower is sometimes, hey guys, we got to make this change. Okay, that's the answer. Okay,
Yeah.
let's do it because what's going to happen, Zach? These annuities are going to go on the books, and I've written millions of dollars worth of annuities over the years. I've never had one fall off.
Mm-hmm.
I've never, but I got away from it because I was just in the home all the time. I was 3 hours away, didn't want to drive back and forth getting signatures and all this and that. Um, but I'm going to tell you, man, it feels so good to be back in it and beginning to see, like, I mean, I don't know if I can say I
Yeah.
made 10 grand in a couple days selling
Yeah.
annuities, dude. Where else
Well, I
can
was
we
just on a
make
call with
days?
Brian Adams earlier, and he said, what big thing people do is they sacrifice the long term money, the big money for the short term, cheap, fast money, right?
Yep.
And I think that's an important principle in business. Like you have to practice some delayed gratification. And yes, you're always going to sell your simplified issue insurance, but don't be rushing out to your next house that may or may not be there, or your next appointment that may or may not be there, and forget to ask the person that you're with that you've already helped with insurance if they have any retirement, right? Because you already have
Right.
that relationship built. You already sold them, slow down and see if you can really maximize that for you. It helps you as the manager, helps you if you're an agent be more profitable. And it's a really good service for the clients, especially when the market is the way it is now. There's a lot
Right.
of people, if they lose 20% of their retirement right now, they can't retire anymore, especially if they're 55 plus. And so I think it, not only does it pay the agents well, and it's, it helps people stay in business and get their business really kicked into high gear, but it also is a really amazing product for the clients. So, Mike, I appreciate it. I appreciate all you do to, pour into our team, and, just honored to be in business with you, man, as always.
I appreciate it. Can I say one more thing, Zach? Just
Of course. Yes, sir.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I didn't touch on this because you said to, but especially for everybody on here, guys, I've gone into homes and I meet over the phone with people every day, and I've never not taken my client worksheet because that client worksheet keeps me on track. And I ask that question. I ask the golden question: do you have anything that acts like life insurance? I ask it to every person I talk to, and I don't judge them based on where they live or what I think about their situation, because almost every annuity except for a couple I've ever written, Zach, they come from those state regulated final expense mailers.
Yeah.
And so don't be afraid to, even if they make $1,000 a month, you'd be surprised how many of those folks have 25, 30,000 just sitting there, not growing in any sort of investment, just sitting there.
Mike, that's true. Second biggest annuity I ever wrote when I was in the field was in this place called Orangeburg, South Carolina. I was, you may know it because you're from the South, but it's a little town in between Charleston and Columbia. The floor was dirt in this house. Like, it wasn't like dirty. The floor was dirt. Like, there was a doorway, and then it was dirt on the outside and then dirt on the inside. And the guy in there was like, "Hey man, I have I have a $750,000, 401k. I don't know what to do with." And I was like, I was like, he must have meant 7,500. I'm like, let me see it. You mean 7,500? He's like, no, 750,000. I worked at XY. I can't. I was he worked at Exxon for like 40 years or something like that. And I was like, okay. I thankfully I
Yeah.
asked, right? And he was like, I don't know what to do with this thing. Can you help? And I'm
Yeah.
like, huh, sounds good. So, like you said, you never know, and you can't ever judge a book by its cover. And in my head, I was like, maybe you could use 10,000 to fix the floors, right? But I just do
Yeah.
whatever you want me to do, buddy. So, no, you're
Yeah.
right. I mean, it's always
Biggest,
it's the ones you don't expect.
yeah,
So,
the biggest one I ever wrote, the lady thought I was coming about her car insurance.
yep. Yeah, there you go.
I wrote the biggest annuity I ever wrote in my life.
Yep. Well, hey, there's always opportunity in every situation, right? So,
Yes,
Mike,
sir.
appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for all your leadership, and I look up to you and follow your lead as well. So I appreciate you, buddy.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate you, Zach. Thanks, man.